Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lora Rolling and this is part 8 of the Christmas lights ornament tutorial. This is the Christmas lights ornament that we are making. It is so cute and colorful. I love it so much. And today we're going to be doing the unit called Blue Long Bulb. If you haven't done parts 1 through 7 yet, that's okay. You can do these out of order. I'll leave those links down below in the description. That way when you finish this one, you can go back and watch those. We only have a few materials to get ready, so let's get them listed and then we can get started. Let's go. So the beads that we're going to be using in today's video are all Miyuki Delicas. I have opaque delphinium, white pearl AB, opaque chartreuse AB, opaque dark cranberry, opaque yellow AB, and silver lined crystal. Just to keep it simple, I'm going to call this blue, white, light green, red, yellow, and silver. We're also going to need some beading thread and a beading needle. I like to use the Eslon Fire in the color Crystal, and I use 4-pound thread, but you can use 6-pound thread if that's what you prefer. And then I have a size 10 beading needle. You could also use a size 12. For implements, I like to use my long nose pliers to hold on to my thread, and my scissors to cut my thread at the end. And at the beginning of the video, I'm going to show you how to use the fire method to end our tail. That's all we need, so let's thread our needle with 3 feet of thread and then we can get started. So I have threaded my needle and now I'm going to pick up my first 3 beads, which are all blue. So with these 3 beads, I'm going to take them and pull them down to the very end of my thread, just leaving about a 6-inch tail. And then let's tie a square knot. So I'm going to cross over on the top, and then I'm going to pull the tail through. And then I'm going to do that again. I'm going to cross over on the top and pull the tail through. So now we have what looks like a little snowman. And I'm going to keep my 2 fingers in the loop that has the beads, and then I'm going to tighten up that top loop into a little knot. Now I have my tail, and I'm not going to touch it to the flame, but I'm going to get it super duper close just so that it melts the tip. And when you melt the tip, it turns into this teensy little bead or knot. So now I'm going to take my long thread and I'm going to pull on it while I twist my loop, the one that has the beads in it, at the same time, so that that little tail knot meets the long thread, just like that. Now I'm going to take my thumbnail and I'm going to pull it down, pull that little knot down to the beads until the beads turn into this little triangle. And that completes row number 1. So let's start row number 2 now by adding 2 more blue beads. Now I'm coming out of, well, it looks like I'm kind of coming out of this bead, but because my knot is kind of in the center, and I'm going to try to pull it over to the side just by tugging on the thread. And now it looks like the thread is coming out of this bead. So we have our 2 new beads. we're going to sew through the bead that the knot is not coming out of or not close to. I hope that makes sense. And then we're going to try to position those two new beads as much as possible to where they're sitting on top of their buddies right there. Just like that. So now let's pick up 2 more blue beads. And we're coming out of this bead. We're going to sew through the next bead. And once again, we're going to try to make those beads sit right on top of their buddies. Let's pick up 2 more blue beads. And we're coming out of this bead. This time we're going to sew through the next bead, and we're also going to sew through the buddy that it's sitting on top of. So sewing through 2 beads this time means that we are finished with row number 2 and we are ready to start row number 3. Let's start row 3 with 2 blue beads and sew through the next bead. Now let's pick up 1 blue bead. We're coming out of this bead. We're going to skip the one that's set down and we're going to sew through the one that's poking up. That is our up bead. Now let's pick up 2 blue beads. Coming out of this bead, let's sew through the next one. Now let's pick up 1 blue bead. Skipping the down bead, we're going to sew through the up bead. I like to turn my work as I go around and around. It just makes it easier for me to sew. Let's pick up 2 more blue beads and sew through the next. Always making sure that those beads are sitting right on top of their buddies. Let's pick up 1 blue bead. This is the last bead in this row. We're coming out of this bead. We're going to skip the down bead, sew through the up bead and its buddy. So we are finished with row number 3 and we get to start row number 4. Let's start with 2 blue beads and sew through the next. And we'll pick up 1 blue bead and sew through the up bead and pick up 1 blue bead and sew through the up. Turning my work, and let's pick up 2 blue beads this time and sew through the next. I'm sorry about the background noise. I am on vacation right now, which is why my video looks a little different than normal. Well, the intro did anyway. And the background, I just can't stop motorcycles from driving down the street right next to my hotel. Okay, so we are now going to pick up 1 blue bead and sew through the next, or sew through the up, and pick up 1 blue bead and sew through the up. Let's pick up 2 blue beads and sew through the next. Let's sew through, or pick up 1 blue bead and sew through the up. And our last bead is 1 blue bead. We're skipping the down. We're going to sew through the up and its buddy. And now we have completed row number 4. Let's start row number 5 with 2 blue beads and sew through the next. One blue and sew through the up. One blue and one blue. Let's pick up 2 blue, one blue, one blue, one blue, two blue beads, one blue, one blue, and one blue. Sewing through the last 2 beads, and now we're ready to start row number 6. Let's start this row with 2 white beads. One blue, one blue, one blue, one blue, two blue beads, one blue, one blue, one blue, one blue, two white beads, one blue, one blue, one blue, and one blue. Sewing through the last 2 beads, and now we're ready to start row 7. Let's start with 2 white beads, one white, one blue, one blue, one blue, one blue, two blue beads, one blue, one blue, one blue, one blue, 1 white, 2 white beads, 1 white, 1 blue, 1 blue, 1 blue, and 1 white. Sewing through the last 2 beads. And now we're ready to start row number 8. Let's start with 1 white and 1 blue. One white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 light green, 1 white, 1 white, 2 white beads, 1 white, 1 white, 1 light green, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 2 white beads, 1 white, 1 white, 1 silver, 1 silver, 1 white, 1 white. Sewing through the last 2 beads. And now we get to start row number 9. Let's start with 2 white beads, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 light green, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 2 white beads, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, oops, I dropped my bead, There we go. 1 light green, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white and 1 red, 1 white, 1 white, 1 silver, 1 silver, 1 silver, 1 white, 1 white. Sewing through the last 2 beads, and now we are ready to start row 10. Let's start with 2 white beads, 1 white, 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 2 white beads, 1 white, 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 2 white beads, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 silver, 1 silver, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white. Sewing through 2 beads, and that completes this row. Let's start row 11 with 1 light green and 1 white. Can you hear everybody down at the pool? Let me know down in the comments if you can hear everybody down at the pool in the background. It's really funny because the longer we go, the louder they seem to be getting. I'm really, really sorry about that. I hope it's not distracting you like it's distracting me. Alrighty. 1 white. 1 white. 1 white. 1 white. 1 light green. 1 white. 1 white. 1 white. 1 white. 2 white beads. 1 white. 1 white. 1 white. 1 white. 1 light green. 1 yellow. 1 white. 1 white. 1 white. 1 white and 1 light green. 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 1 silver. 1 light green. 1 light green. 1 light green. And 1 light green. Sewing through the last 2 beads. And now we get to start row 12. Let's start with 2 light green. 1 white. 1 white. 1 white. 1 white. 1 light green. 1 white. 1 white. 1 white. 1 white. 1 white. 2 white beads. 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 light green, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, 2 light green, 1 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 silver, 1 silver, 1 light green, 1 light green, 1 light green, and 1 light green. Sewing through the last 2 beads, and that completes row number 12. Now, if this is the first triangle that you've done with me, some of these triangles are going to need connector beads on one side or another. This particular unit is going to need connector beads on this side, but no beads on this side and no beads on the top. So what we're going to do first is we're going to cap this corner by adding 1 light green bead, and that will turn this corner into a point, just like that. And now we're going to add white beads all the way down along this side. I'll call them out for you if you're writing this down or following along. 1 white bead, 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 1 white, 1 white, 1 white, and 1 white. Now we're down to this point or corner. Let's make it a point by adding 1 white. And now we're going to sew through the beads without adding any beads until we get to this bead right here. So the way I do that is I flip it over, and then I start sewing just up each bead all the way up this kind of line of the quadrant right here. So let's just sew through all of those beads. And while we're doing that one at a time without picking up any beads, I will tell you what we're doing on vacation. We're having a lot of fun. We flew out to California and spent 4 days watching the US Open surfing competition with my very, very best buddy, Marlo, and I just had so much fun spending time with her. We've known each other since junior high school, I think. Yeah. And oh my gosh, that was so much fun. And then Logan and I took off and went down to San Diego to tour a college. And now we are in Laguna Beach, and we're going to tour here tomorrow. And then we're going to continue to go up the coast, up, until we are finished with our college tours for this session anyway. And this is what I'm calling a vacation because, oh my gosh, if you haven't been up the California coast, it is gorgeous. But yeah, so absolutely beautiful drive all the way up. So that's what I've been doing and why my background looks a little different. Not so much in this one because I brought all my stuff from home, but the background in the intro and the outro is always going to be different if I'm filming here on vacation. Anyways, so that's what I've been doing. Let me know what you've been doing. Okay, so we are now at this last corner, so we just have one more corner to cap. Let's cap it with one light green bead, and that turns that one into a point. And now I'm going to just sew up 6 beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, just to secure this last bead that we put on, I'm going to do what I call zigzagging. We're coming out of the top of this bead. We're going to sew down the bead right next to it. And then we're going to sew up the bead right next to that one. And then I'm going to move up 2 more rows, so sewing through 1 bead at a time, 1 and 2. And now I'm going to do that zigzag again. Coming out of the top of this bead, let's sew down the bead right next to that one, and sew up the bead right next to that one. Now let's sew up 2 more beads, 1 and 2. And now I feel like this corner bead is very secure. So let's cut our thread by holding it with the long nose pliers and then taking our scissors, getting as close to the bead as possible without cutting the bead, and just snip off that thread. So now we have completed our blue long bulb unit. We only need 1 of these, so I will see you in a second. That was so much fun. Thank you so much for being here with me today and beading along with me. Remember to like and subscribe and hit that bell button so you're notified when the next video comes out. I can't wait to see you there. Thanks for watching.